Australian visa applications and dodgy schemes. Dodgy schemes? We've seen a few. Down Under Visa had somebody the other day contacting us wanting an Australian partner visa, and with a plan that he thought was quite reasonable. We get around a dozen visa assessment forms filled out every day, and yes, of course, all of these people would like an Australian visa for their lady from the Philippines or gentleman from the Philippines. However, not all become our clients, and I'll explain why. Down Under Visa are always ethical. Yes, old-fashioned ethics. We do very nicely, thank you very much, by remaining ethical in our migration agency practice. Our code of conduct, which all registered migration agents are required to follow, says that we should not take on cases that are doomed to fail and would face refusal, and we should advise clients clearly and honestly about their chances of success. Personally, I like the quiet life, and I don't want to have ticking time bomb visa applications in the system. If they will not work, I will say, sorry, can't help you. And I'll often try my best to put them on the right track, and in surprisingly many cases they do come back when they've taken that advice. But we get those who've already worked out their clever schemes, and all they want to hear is that we think it's a great idea. Well, Down Under Visa and Jeff Harvey don't work like that. The inquiry I was referring to was a fellow who had met the lady in the Philippines 6 weeks before, and was determined to marry her. He said she was widowed. But then he told me she wasn't actually. She just hadn't seen her husband for a few years. Now, she knew he worked in Dubai, and he came back for his holidays. But the clever scheme was that she could just have him declared legally dead, pick up his death certificate in a few weeks, and she could marry our enthusiastic Aussie man, and they would soon be bound for Australia. Wrong in every possible way. Yes, it is possible to have somebody declared legally dead. However, this is done through the courts, and it's done when there has been no evidence of him being alive for, I think, 7 years. And this will take a year or more before the court will instruct the National Statistics Office, the NSO, to issue a death certificate for the husband. If they find he has people who have seen him, or evidence of him voting, or having a functioning bank account, or records of international movements, and he's not exactly dead, is he? This would be one of those cases where the girl or her family would be pushing her to get herself to Australia so they could all benefit and share in her windfall. In this case, there were apparently family members working in the NSO. That means fake papers, which would be exposed later when the visa application was lodged, and the Australian Embassy asked for NSO documents to be sent to them directly from the NSO office, which is what they do. The visa refusal and a 3-year ban would be the end result. And the other issue we get all the time is from those who really haven't known each other for very long. I had one the other day where he'd known the girl for 6 days and wanted to marry. I will point out that they do need proof of a genuine and committed relationship, and that it's hard to show this after having only known each other for a week. I will take them on as clients, but only after a certain period where they can show a bit of history. Fortunately, many will go away, and they will come back after they've let the relationship mature a bit. They'll get back to me and say, yes, Jeff, I've been to see her. 4 months later, we're getting on great. Terrific. The same applies to those who haven't met in person before. The Australian sponsor needs to get on a plane and meet the lady in person, and only after that can we start talking about visa applications. But one thing I will definitely not do is to knowingly take on a case where there is clearly fraud taking place. Death certificates for husbands who are alive and well? I don't think so. And even those cases that are not fraudulent, but just where the case is weak? No. Again, we get enough legitimate work without having to compromise on quality. And Jeremy asked me to add this, that this is why the embassy and the department are tough. This is the sort of nonsense they have to deal with all the time, and with people trying to con them. You need to work hard to prove you're not up to something sneaky. This is why we push you for evidence that you are not like this. So please understand this and please be patient with us. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it and you would like to subscribe, you can click on the little button down the bottom corner there, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. There are regular articles on aspects of Australian visas to the Philippines on www.downundervisa.com.au. There's a blog page you can subscribe to. There is a free visa assessment form, and there are regular articles on aspects of Australian-Filipino relationships, which you can see on www.filipinawives.com.au. If you can please share these articles and these videos on any of the social media that you use, we would appreciate that. Thank you.